Welcome in to episode 16, Vandy Week. We got a full squad today. We got DR back from the injured reserve, the colonoscopy, a.k.a. which the pain in the ass kind of goes with you. Bandit's back. Buddy, what's up? Bandit.
What's up? Glad to be
We're
back,
all
guys.
drinking. We might get naked on the podcast. I don't know. We're all drinking and ready for Thanksgiving, ready for turkey tomorrow. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got fan questions and basketball and football. And, of course, like I said, it's Vandy Week. Paul, you want to kick off this? We got we can go around two horns on this. Let's go South Alabama review. And if you want to sprinkle in a little Vandy preview in that, go ahead.
So I think South Alabama, we did exactly what people wanted us to do. We scored 60 points and didn't allow them to score 20. I would have liked to see a shutout, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not greedy. We were 3-7 last year, so I can't be too greedy. But we're bowl eligible. That's all I really have to say. Hendon Hooker played a hell of a game for the little bit he was in there. He played very efficient. Our offense looked really good. It was nice to see Bayless Jones actually get a kick return that went further than 20 yards. So that was nice. Other than that, I really don't have much to say. It was a simple ass whooping.
Sorry if I have a little bit of commotion in the background. I'm now in Florida with my dad's side of the family, so it's kind of crazy down here. In terms of like South Alabama review, we had another game with over 60 points, seven different touchdown scores. I thought that was absolutely awesome. Even though it's South Alabama, we held them to 1 out of 16 for third down, which is usually my biggest complaint. I did not like that we allowed them to get 14 points on the board. Sorry that all of this commotion is going on. I'm sure y'all can hear it, and it's really annoying. And obviously, Bayless Jones had like an awesome game. He absolutely kicked ass. And Tillman and Fant did really well overall. But the biggest cherry on top is that we got to a bowl game. And we were supposed to win like 3 games this year. So honestly, I do not want to hear any complaints at all. That's like the number one cherry on top for me. We got to a bowl game.
I'm happy with it as well. I mean, I'm not going to repeat everything y'all just said, but saw everything you needed to see. Milton got in at the end of the game, and he wasn't unbearable to watch because he's up there for me with a few other players in Tennessee sports who I don't like to watch play athletics. But he did good, and it's looking closer and closer like you're probably going to be needing him next year because it's not looking like Hooker will be back. That's all I got.
Never thought bowl eligibility would feel so good after the last couple years. The whole Jeremy Pruitt bowl thing. I was like, after losing to Georgia State and BYU, man, getting to that bowl game that year felt great. Getting it back after the years we've had between now and then feels even better. Finally got to see a Bayless Jones kickoff return for a touchdown. So that was good. Looking back, we're 53 points away from the all-time scoring record for a Tennessee football season. So you look at us scoring 60 points the other night. If we would have scored 50 or 52, people would have still been happy. But that 60 points is even bigger because it put us that much closer to breaking the record this weekend. So something to think about there.
Y'all are just full of words tonight. Yeah, not much you can really say. South Alabama, I remember days in the past, and it seems like even like Fulmer did this. Like it was just like we just didn't blow people out. And it's nice. It's so nice to put 50 and 60 points instead of 31-7 and 42, even 42 isn't really a lot when you're playing some of these scrub teams. I'm glad we went in and did what we have to do. As far as I know, we didn't come away injuries, and I think we played some young guys, and that's what I mentioned on the previous pod. I'm glad we did what we had to do. Milton, I wish Milton got a little bit more playing time, but I understand why they probably wanted Hooker to get more snaps deep into the third quarter. Some of the guys that were injured already, we're probably saving them for the last two games. Bowl season is big for these guys. Like we trolled Barrett Salee. I'm not going to give him too much shit because who had this happening? Honestly, I mean, I had him 6-6, but that's just because it was a favorable schedule. But I'm not going to troll him. He kind of took up for us during the whole. He's the one blue check mark I like. He took up for us during the whole Shiano thing. But this is exactly what I want to see against all. No upset, closed, and no. Heupel had his team ready. It was cold. Shout out to the fans that went. I didn't go. Boo on me, whatever. But this is the type of game you wish was at noon and you could just go home and then watch the rest of the games. But, yeah, that's all I got for South Alabama. Let's go back around the horn and let's get started with Vanderbilt.
So another thing I wanted to add, for everybody complaining that we're only 7-5, if you think about it in the past, Dooley had his first year. I think he went 6-6. Didn't he play North Carolina in that bowl game his first year? I can't remember. Okay, so he did play North Carolina his first year. But other than that, Butch needed his first year to figure out his slumps. He went 5-7. Pruitt goes 5-7 in his first year. Heupel's skipping that first year slump that we've seen with other coaches, and he's going to get to 7-5 after this Saturday, knock on wood. I mean, if we lose to Vanderbilt, that just kills all momentum. But I don't think it's even going to be a close game after the opening kickoff. It shouldn't be a close game. But I don't think Vanderbilt honestly scares me less than South Alabama did, because at least South Alabama was playing for something. They're like 5-6 now. They were 5-5 when we played them. Vanderbilt's just coming off a dogfight with UConn a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, I'm not really scared to play them. And, I mean, if you look at their fan base, they're going to be excited. All 10 of them are going to be probably coming to Neyland Stadium this Saturday. So, that's going to be nice to look forward to. But what I really want to see is a packed crowd, because this team could have jumped ship. All these seniors could have jumped ship. They had the opportunity. Alontae Taylor could have went and played anywhere else in the SEC, but he stayed here for the same reason that we all love Tennessee football. And that's because there's a culture here. There's a family aspect. We love what we do here. So when you're looking at that from a standpoint of Alontae Taylor's going to be playing his last game in Neyland, and all these seniors are going to be playing their last games in Neyland Stadium, get your ass out of bed, buy a damn ticket, because they're like $20. I bought mine for like $200, but I'm on row 6, so I'm bougie. But get your ass out of bed and go to the game. I think the Vols win cruise easily.
Yes. So I am just kind of out of my element in my, where I'm at right now. So I'm just trying to get used to it. In terms of Vandy, in terms of last weekend, I will admit that I did not attend the game. That was only because Bandit and me and his wife got a little bit too turned up at bucket heads, and it was too cold. So I was planning on going, and then I'm tired of being crucified for selling my Vandy tickets this weekend. That's another thing. I sold them to Vol fans. They look like they're going to have a great time. It's actually their first game ever going, but they were trying to tell me that I was so bad for not going. I'm like, dude, it's Thanksgiving weekend and I'm at the beach seeing my family. So I need everyone to get over that. In terms of actual football, if it was any other team, I would be concerned about any other team in the past 5 or 6 years. I'd be a little worried about Tennessee not coming ready to play. But I think we're ready to play. I think we're going to come out. We're going to win. We're going to end 7-5. And when I started this podcast, it was not Vols ATB podcast. It was just a random. Well, I didn't start it, but when I first got on the podcast, Bandit asked me to do it, and I think Leland was on the same one as well. We all gave like our predictions, and mine was 7-5 overall, even though I floated like a psychopath between like 9 or 10 wins because I was like way hyped up, and then I was like, wow, we may do awful. But I landed at 7-5. So I could not be more excited about this team. I think they're doing a great job. In terms of what I want to see, I would not want us to give up any touchdowns. Like, yes, we blew South Alabama out of the water, but it's Vanderbilt, and South Alabama scored 2 touchdowns on us. I don't like that. So I just don't want Vanderbilt to score any touchdowns on us. Whether they score field goals or whatever, sometimes it happens, but no touchdowns against Vanderbilt, period.
Low, what's your score?
Score final, 56-6.
Did you want me to give my score, Leland? Okay. I'm gonna go 67-3. I think we whoop their ass because seniors are gonna play their asses off. It's their last game in England. Dog stomping for the doors.
At the beginning of the year, I was pretty down on them, but one of my wins I thought we get Vandy, and that's obviously not changed. I think it's going to be a blowout. And, you know, we saw that graphic back in March or April about how the last 10 years between us and Vanderbilt were 5-5, and that's ridiculous. So we win this, we'll be in a 3-game win streak against these morons. And it'd just be good to get a win. And I kind of hope the last time we lost to them, I was in Vanderbilt's practice field, whatever they play on, sit behind this moron. So I will be looking for this guy as a Vandy fan to pick a fight with them. Because what was it, 2018? Yeah, we got blown out like 38-13, I believe is what it was. And I hope we just murder them. 31-point spread, we better cover it. I will not be happy if we don't. Because it's time, Leland said it all year, it's time to put these teams back into place. Like the Missouri, South Carolina, we did that. Now let's do it with the trifecta of Vanderbilt. I want to score 70, but I'm going to go with 63 to probably 12.
The one thing I want to see this weekend, like I said earlier, 53-plus points, want to get that record broken. This might sound odd. Something I'd like to see is Joe Milton. Like Leland said about the South Alabama game, he wished Joe Milton would have had more play time. I'd like to see us actually do that this weekend. You really have no excuse if we're up big. You can't use the excuse that, well, you don't want to throw Hooker's rhythm off because we're going to have at least 4 weeks before the bowl game. So you don't have that excuse of getting Hooker out of his rhythm. So I'd really like to see a lot of Joe Milton. You need to see where he's at. I think back a lot to when we played in Nebraska in the Music City Bowl. It seemed like Butch Jones was almost padding Josh Dobbs' stats in that game. If you saw Jarrett Garantano that game, maybe you see some red flags earlier on him. Wouldn't have mattered. Jeremy Pruitt still would have played him every fucking game. I got a score prediction of 58-17. Want to see 53-plus and some Joe Milton. 58-17.
Oh God, y'all are out there with your scoring predictions. So Vandy of late has they've been a thorn in our side. I know we beat them last year, but I remember growing up and always not being a kid, and we just were out around this time of year shopping with mom and all that, and you just didn't have to watch this game because you knew that it was going to be an ass beating during the former year. Remember Woody Woodenhofer? That was one of the coaches back in the Woody Woodenhofer. It sounds like a Disney character. That was a longtime coach for them. I can't stand losing to these nerds. It's one of the most loser fan bases in all of sports. Like when it's like when their chess club is important or their debate team is up there, that they're not a football school, and no one wants to go to their damn games. You have to bribe them to go to the games. Remember that year there was that picture when we were actually, I think it's one of Butch's better years. There was that picture of the stadium, and it was like the orange outnumbered gold and black 4-1. Like, it was just a sea of orange. We should have never lost to them. I think we lost to them, recently 3 in a row? That's just like, that's against our religion, man. That's just, you can't let that shit happen. Like, I can understand once, maybe twice if something happened. As of late, looks like I'm looking at some of their scores here lately. They've actually I think they made a QB change, and I'm sitting here looking at their scores, and they've played better. They put 28 up on Missouri. Now, Mississippi State's probably one of the hottest teams in the country. They beat them 45-6. They lost by 1 point against South Carolina. But look, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is supposed to have this high-flying, fun Heisman candidate / lane and all that. They lost 31-17, and that game was pretty close if I remember correctly last week. The spread on some sports books is between 31 and 32. I actually think Vandy will cover. Sad to say, but I'm going to go 42-17. But let's just blow them out any way possible over 21. Like, I don't care about all this. Y'all want to beat them by 40. I mean, that's great and all. It'd be great, and laugh at them when they leave the stadium. But I'm cool with just a 25, 28 point win. And Paul, you got something here?
Yeah, I just want to say this. I've had a lot of Vanderbilt fans in my mentions talking about we beat y'all in 2017 and we beat y'all in 2018. That's fine. But you are the third win of a team that went 3-7 in 2020 and made half of the world transfer on our football team. You guys are disgusting. You shouldn't even be in the SEC. You and whoever the hell in the West sucks. Really, the West is weird. They have consistent people kind of rising and falling. But Vanderbilt, you're known for being trash in the SEC. Like, people look at you and realize that they have another cupcake game, but they're going to get a conference win out of it. Like, even when Tennessee was in their dual years, we were going 5-7, but 1-7 in conference, or 2-6 in conference because we had Kentucky and Vanderbilt. So I just want to say this: shut the fuck up if you're a Vanderbilt fan, because we're going to whoop your ass Saturday, and I can't wait to do it.
Do you remember when they put Derek Mason's vest in behind glass? I mean, that would be like putting like Dooley's orange pants on display because they beat UAB. Like that's just loser mentality, I think.
You beat a guy who was coaching at Arkansas State, and y'all made a damn trophy case for an article of clothing that your coach, who's no longer there, in the trophy case, and you still have it to this day. You're a shitty excuse for an SEC football program. Get the fuck out of my conference. I'm sick of your shit. Fuck Vandy, Vols by 90.
I would. I do think they're going to throw a punch or two. I'll admit it. Tennessee's kind of feeling good about themselves. It would be typical Tennessee to kind of shit the bed in the first quarter or second. They got this guy who can run around now, can maybe make some plays. From a fan standpoint, I know I'm a Tennessee fan, and this is probably not right to say, but sometimes I like a little drama. Like, if I'm going to go out there and I'm tipsy, let's make it interesting. Let's make it competitive in the first quarter. And then then the second, third, fourth, let's just blow their ass out.
So what I'd like to see is us like kicking their ass like for a little bit, and like it's like 21-7 maybe at the end of the first quarter, and then like we kick their ass for the rest of the game, and it's like 63-7 final score. But I'm with you. I like to see a little drama at least in the beginning, because at the end of the day, programs are defined by how they handle adversity, and if we don't ever experience adversity with the shitty teams that we know we can beat the fuck out of, we're never going to experience adversity. Like, we're never going to be able to deal with it when we play the Georgias and the Alabamas of the SEC.
I can already tell Paul's hammered. Before we go to fan questions, anybody got anything else about Vandy Bandit?
I just want to say RIP to the dude Woody Woodenhofer. Looked him up. He passed away about a year ago.
Oh, damn.
4-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers.
Do me a favor right there while you're sitting there. What was his record at Vandy? It had to have been horrible.
So that's where I was getting 4-time Super Bowl champion with the Steelers, and then he managed to go 27-71 in college.
How many years was that?
Yes, multiple years.
So what's funny, like, he had horrible winning percentage there, but they let him stay But then, like, I mean, I'm not the biggest Derek Mason fan in the world, but they let him go after what, 5 or 6? Like, I don't understand that.
It was 97 to 2001.
Okay, so that's a long time. Anybody else before we get to fan questions on Vandy, Tennessee in general? All right. Lo, this is your shindig.
All right. We are back with my favorite part, one of my favorite parts of the show, which is fan questions. I think we're going to run through all of them that were submitted this week. And we have a little debate as well. Like one of the fan questions, Mercy Whalen, actually like sparked up a little debate between our podcasts. So we are going to debate afterwards about that question, which will be fun. First question is at Sleuth Return. He asked us, which anyone who's been on Twitter this past weekend, he asked us, how do you pronounce Vescovi, which is how I pronounce it, and that's just how I pronounce it. But anyways, he wants to know, how do you pronounce Santiago Vescovi, Vescovi, however, y'all let me know, let it fly.
In the words of the guy we're trying to pronounce, he literally had an interview today, and he said his name was either back home, he said it was Vescovi, like it was like you emphasize the E in the enunciation, but he said it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go with Vescovi. Santiago Vescovi. I don't know how else you would pronounce it. That dude on the fucking internet, Fran Callahan or whatever the hell his name is, he needs to get off of he needs to never touch a microphone again in radio sports history.
I'll tell you right now, if my name is Fran, I'm immediately going to be on the defensive side if I'm a man. I'll tell you that right now. I'm immediately going to find someone to target if I'm on air. Unfortunately, he decided to come at Vol Twitter, and he got his shit rocked. From what I heard live on the broadcast, all he could do was check his Twitter account about everyone roasting him and then begging people not to roast him. That's pretty embarrassing. He should just focus on his job. I pronounce it Vescovi. Santiago was on his little thing. I guess it was today I saw it today. I don't know when he said it, but he was like, I don't really care. He said naturally you don't emphasize the O, you emphasize the E. At this point, I don't think they really care. I think they're just happy that we aren't being like negative with our attention, right? We're giving them positive attention, which is a good change for Vol fans. So I say Vescovi, but like I said, I mean, fuck Fran. I'm done with Fran.
Well, my Uncle Fran that's listening is probably going to tell you to screw off, Lo. I think it's a cultural thing, honestly. It's kind of like in, Mexico, it's Jesus, but in America, it's Jesus, or vice versa, however they say it. I mean, again, like y'all have said, it's whatever. I don't care. As long as he can hit the 3 ball, he can call himself Mickey Mouse for all I care. So call him what you want, as long as he don't care.
I've always said Vescovi. I'm kind of like Lo said. I'm not sure if I would have on national TV announced that I wasn't paying attention to the game. I was checking my Twitter. But yeah, it's Vescovi.
Guys, it's not Leland anymore. It's Leland. Okay, I demand to be pronounced Leland. Okay, it sounds more exotic. Okay, but this whole thing is like the Garantano. Like, okay, Garantano is going to be on the campus for 14 years, and on the 15th year, he's going to change the name of the pronunciation of his name. Like, that's so. I don't even know where this friend guy came from. Never heard of him. I never even heard of anything with Vescovi's name as far as how to pronounce it or anything. And by the way, have y'all noticed that I'm so proud of this as a Tennessean? Did y'all hear Vescovi today? He sounded like one of us. Like, how badass was that? Like, I'm so proud. Like, I can't wait till he, like, flips birds at Dollywood or something and pigs out on funnel cakes. Like, I'm so happy to have him on our team. But, like, the Garantano thing, like, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Like, even if Vescovi changed it now and it was Vescovi or whatever, I'm still going to say what I want to say. I don't give a shit. But the whole thing's stupid, and that Fran took an L today when he pronounced it himself. But next question.
Very good answers. Next question, at Mercy_Waylon. He asked, is it good or bad for Tennessee that Dan Mullen got fired?
I'm going to answer it like this. We don't know the answer to this question until we see who Florida hires. If Florida somehow pulls off the miraculous and goes and gets Lane Kiffin or something like that, it's obviously a bad move that they hired him. As of right now, it's bad because we had a guaranteed win, right? But if Lane Kiffin goes, not that that's happening, I think Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. It just makes more sense that way. But if Lane Kiffin goes to Florida, we're royally fucked, possibly. But at the same time, I don't think that Dave Arnada is even going to touch Florida right now. So I think it's not a terrible thing.
So, touching on that, Paul, yes, we don't know until it happens. I do not see any reason why Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. His star quarterback, Corral, is leaving. That would probably be the only reason I would see him staying there. There are 3 pretty big job openings that I would see him looking at, and that's USC, LSU, Florida. I don't know if he'll go, but I'm just saying if he did go to Florida, I would be super pissed. I would not enjoy that. However, I don't think, at this point, I'm more trustworthy in Heupel and his staff than I would be in Kiffin running to Florida and beating us year one. For some reason, I just have this good feeling. People can say I'm an idiot or whatever they want to say, but I feel like next year, Florida at home, I feel like that's a win in our column, regardless of who goes there, even if it's Kiffin. But in terms of overall, Mullen getting fired, the only reason I would see it being really bad is if Kiffin just went and bolted straight there. I don't think that would be great for us. But anyone else, I'm not so terrified or just cowering at any other hire that would just make me think oh my God, this is going to be awful for us. That's just me. I don't know.
Paul, man, you said a guaranteed win. We never beat Dan Mullen. I don't get that. The last 4 years, 47-21. 2019, 34-3. 2020, 31-19. The closest game when I did it, and a lot of people bet on Florida to cover the spread and lost hundreds of dollars. And then this year, 38-14. Honestly, I don't think it matters who Florida hires. We could have Nick Saban and the Lord at quarterback, and until we beat them consistently, then I don't really think it matters. Honestly, I thought Dan Mullen was a good coach. You take away this year, look what he did last year. I mean, hell, he almost had Alabama beat last year and made it a game this year. But I don't know. Florida's our daddy, and until we have somebody that can beat them, I'll believe it. And again, the previous 3 years, we had a guy that couldn't identify vegetables as our coach. So, I get that, but I don't know. We'll see with their next hire. I don't think that hiring numbnuts from Louisiana is an upgrade, honestly. Because, again, I maintain Mullen was a good coach, and I would have loved to have him back in 2018.
I've got down that it's a good thing. I've really always felt the problem with why Tennessee loses to Florida so much is where it's at on the scheduling. But I still think it's good for us. I think it kind of shakes them up. Everything they've had going down there is already obviously falling apart. You've got, they're losing commitments. You've got kids that are currently there, currently starting, taking the Florida and the Gators out of their bios and whatever. But I've always felt like since Kiffin left, that kind of put us out of the natural order of things. If you go back and look, Florida has hired almost as many coaches in the same span that we have, minus Kiffin bolting. But it just seemed like after Kiffin left, they were always hiring a coach 1 year before we were. They always had that one extra year. And so for once, we might actually have the upper hand on who hired a coach first, because they're really in a bad spot. Like Lo said, USC, LSU. There's jobs I would put way ahead of Florida right now, open, and hopefully it puts us ahead of them for a couple of years. We'll see, but I think it's good.
So I love and hate this question at the same time. I love it because I can't answer it, but I hate it because I can't answer it. So okay, so there's two ways you can look at this. One, you can look in the past and see what he's done to us. He's beat us by 23.5 points, I think, per win. I don't think he scored less than. I think he scored over 40 in 3 out of the 4. Was he here 3 or 4 years? 4 or 5 years. I can't remember. But he scored 40 every game but one, I think. And the other one was like 35 or something. That's not right. Okay, whatever. He scored a lot against us. So in the future, you can look at this as a way of saying that he's lost the team and they gave him an extra year. And I'm going to give you 2 examples. Butch Jones, 2017, and Derek Dooley, 2012, okay? We let them, both coaches, we should have fired them the year before they were fired, okay? We look around the country, teams are firing coaches when they need to be fired, but when it comes to us, we fire coaches too late, okay? So if they thought he lost the team, then they needed to fire him, because what's the point of coming back from it? Now, I got roasted a little bit on this because the thing about Twitter is when you post an opinion, and then one person comes after you and you try to explain that opinion, and then like an avalanche of people come after you, you're constantly explaining that opinion, and then it makes you look like you cut for Mullen. I don't cut for Mullen. I'm just taking up for my opinion, and I believe in my opinion, okay? I thought he was a good hire for them. He did well. He was 1 possession away from beating Alabama last year. Now this year, coaching ability and losing the team is 2 different things, 2 separate categories. He got fired for losing the team, period. He didn't get fired for on-field. The on-field performance was the cherry on top. That's why he lost the team. If they're winning, it cures all, okay? And so going forward, he has our number. But I believe we would have beat them next year because they don't have a QB and it's at home, okay? Now I would pick them, but I'm just saying. I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing this whole bullshit about how Texas and Florida is the 2 best jobs in the country. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick. It's not. If it was so great, then these coaches. Damn it.
And Leland has magically disappeared, but he will probably be back very soon.
I'm back. Sorry. Somebody tried to call me.
All right. Leland, you were kind of leading us into our debate question. Do you want me to just dive on into it?
Yeah, let me just finish this one thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sick and tired of hearing about these 2 jobs being good, because if they were so good, they could hire anybody. There's one. Okay, let me rephrase. There's 2 automatic hires that's going to win you games: Nick Saban and Urban Meyer. Okay, it's proven. I don't care how much you think sleazy Urban Meyer is. So no matter who you hire, you're going to have question marks, and they're going to get fired in year 5 because these schools have such high expectations. I'll tell you what, the first coach after Saban, he goes 10-2, he's going to get fired because their expectations are so high. But I'm so sick and tired of hearing about these. They're so good. Nowadays, you can recruit from anywhere. Okay, that's an excuse. Okay, you can recruit anywhere. You can sell playing time. You sell chargers, whatever you want to do. But going forward, I'm scared of one coach going forward. And we'll get to that in a second. But and it's not Kiffin, by the way. But we're fine. We'll be fine, I think. But let's see who the next coach is for Florida.
All right. just like Leland said, we're going to jump to a different question here in a moment. However, Mercy_Wayland, his question about, like, is it good or bad that Mullen got fired for Tennessee? That kind of sparked an internal debate between our podcasts. So we've decided to just launch this debate discussion. Dan Mullen was offered the opportunity to coach the last game, and he refused. And we are very split on the podcast in terms of if it was good or bad. Why would he do that? What's the look? Whatever. So Paul, go ahead and start us off.
Paul, before you start, just say that one more time because I think Low cut out. But say the question one more time, and then you can go ahead with yours.
So it was sparked up that from that previous question, was Mullen leaving and not coaching the last game, that Florida offered? They said, you can coach this last game. It would give them bowl eligibility. He said, no, screw it. Sparked a big debate between the podcast, all of us, in terms of, was it good? Was it bad? Did he make the right move? Why did he do that? So Paul is going to kick us off, and we're going to go from there on this random side debate.
I think it's terrible that he didn't coach the last game for two reasons. One, if he's actively looking to get back into coaching, like he's actively seeking a head football job at USC or maybe at LSU, who knows, actively seeking a football job, it looks terrible if it's publicly noted that the university that you work for and you sign the contract to work out those years that you now left out on that commitment because you got fired. But everybody's like, would you get fired from a job if this and this happened? If I'm still getting paid $6 million to do said job and that's my buyout, I'm going to go ahead and coach the last game because it's not like this game has no meaning. If they win this game, they're bowl eligible, so they have another game. So now you're looking at it from a standpoint that Dan Mullen basically said, okay, you guys want to give up on me, I'm going to give up on you because fuck you, Florida. I don't give a shit about anything that you have. So as an AD, how am I going to look at Dan Mullen and be like, I should probably hire this guy when he was just a cuck about finishing the end of the year? You have one more game. And if you happen to lose that game, your season's over, so you have 0 games. But if you win that game, you can go to a bowl game. And if you win a bowl game after you just got fired, every opening head coaching available job is yours. It's simple as that. If you win a bowl game and anybody wants you, they can have you because you have that bowl game win off your resume. And Florida looks kind of cucky if they fire you and then you go out there and win a bowl game. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
All right. So we're definitely polar opposites on this. I have very big views on this. So first of all, Dan Mullen, I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's a little bit strange. I think his wife is really fucking weird, but that's beside the point. 2020 won the SEC East in an all SEC schedule, battled Alabama and almost won in the SEC championship, turns around to this season, gets fired, and he's making millions, right? So they're sitting here and they're like, hey, we're firing you and you're going to get millions. But if you want to coach this last game after we fired you, you're more than welcome to. I'd be like, suck it. Who the hell wants to go back after you've been fired when you take your millions and you run? Who's going to go back to that? I'm sorry. I'm completely divided on this. The goal, I'm just sitting here. I'm just like, one, he probably thinks he shouldn't have been fired. More than likely is the one. That's probably the main reason why he did not coach the last game is because he was like, one season ago, I was in the freaking SEC championship. Why the hell am I fired? So that's just one thing. But for two, I'm sitting here personally, I'm taking that money, I'm running. I am running out the damn door. I'm sorry, people will be like, that's ridiculous. But for me, he'll get the job. He's not a bad coach. He's actually a pretty solid coach. I don't like that he was at Florida, but he's honestly a pretty solid coach. And a billion other coaches have done it. So he's just another one in the pool.
I hate that Paul got up because I wanted to pick apart everything he said, but I guess I'll go ahead and say it. I mean, they fired him because they didn't want him. First of all, it looks bad not coaching the last game. Losing the games you lost and losing your team looks worse. So why the hell would you want to keep coaching them? Wearing a Darth Vader suit, press conference, that looks bad. Your wife making out with the players and spreading the flu, that looks bad. His interviews looks bad. I don't think one game matters. And as far as anybody would want him, not really. I mean, Florida didn't want him. But you know what's going to happen. He's probably going to go to Alabama, be the OC, and do the rehab. I don't think it matters. If my job called me tonight, said, we're going to pay you the next 2 weeks. Do you want to come in or do you want to sit at home? Well, you don't want me. You're firing me. So I'm going to sit at home. Why worry about the stress? I don't even see why this is an argument anyway. I mean, we've had 2 coaches that we fired and they didn't coach their last few games. So.
All right. None of you guys touched on the fact that 2 games ago, Dan Mullen and this Florida athletic department fired defensive coordinator Todd Grantham and O-line coach John Hevesy. By not coaching this last game, Dan Mullen is saying, yep, it's me. I'm the reason why. Because his entire defense on why they've lost these last 4 games was the defensive coordinator. And, I don't think an O-line coach makes that much of a difference actually during the season. But everybody in Florida wanted Todd Grantham fired for the last 2 years, not just this season. For multiple years, Florida fans have wanted Todd Grantham fired. So it finally happened. Dan Mullen goes out there. The first game without Todd Grantham was the 70-point comeback win against the FCS school. And then this last game, the one that, straw that broke the camel's back was the Missouri game. They gave that game up on a 2-point conversion. So basically, I guess in my mind, by not going out there and proving himself for this last game, he's basically saying, yep, that's it. I'm the problem. I've fired my defensive coordinator. I fired this other guy y'all wanted out. No, we're not willing to prove it that it's not me that's the problem. I think it's kind of cowardly. Florida is a school where Dan Mullen emerged. Dan Mullen won a national championship at Florida as the OC. After that season is when he got the job at Mississippi State. We all know what happened there. Dak Prescott. That's when he moves to Florida. So, I mean, really, if it wasn't for Florida, he wouldn't be at Florida to begin with. And I just feel like that should hold more weight for him. All the guys on the roster he brought in, they're all his guys. He's been there 4 years at least. Just can't imagine wanting to break all those promises. And like Paul was saying, if he does go out there and win the last game, I don't think he would have coached the bowl game. But to at least tell all these guys that you've brought to this school, hey, we're going to go out there and get that 6th win. I'm going to send y'all to a bowl game and then I'm out. You guys deserve at least that from me. I think, because they said they offered it to him and he took like 6 hours to come to a decision. He took some time to really think about it, came back, said, I don't want to be that big of a distraction. But I feel like by not being there, if Florida doesn't at least get bowl eligible this weekend, that's even a bigger distraction, I feel. Could Dan Mullen have sent these kids at least to a bowl? That's really all I got. Anybody that could have been an interim, really, he's fired in the last 3 weeks. And then he's just like, fuck it. That's where I'm at with it.
All right, got a lot to hit on. I love going last because I can get the final word. I just got a Charlie horse. Damn it. All right. So
Let's see.
God.
Drink a beer.
I need water. DR, come stretch my groin out for me. So a couple
I
things.
thought that's where Paul kept going.
God, that hurt. All right, couple
I
things.
just got done.
Couple things. Okay, I'm going to touch on a bunch of y'all stuff. Okay, Paul, I can 100%, and I would lay down $1,000 million right here to back against my word. No AD in the country gives a shit if he coaches this next game in the next interview. I $100,000 million percent whatever guarantee that they don't care. You know why? Because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So, I've personally never got fired from a job, but I guarantee that if I put in my 2 weeks notice and like I leave on the 8th day, that my next interview, the next job's they're not going to be like, oh, you didn't finish out your 2 weeks notice, we can't hire you. I guarantee they're not going to do that. Okay. So, I guess Lowe and DR is on my side on this. So, okay, Bandit, cowardly. Okay. So, I don't know if you know this or not, but coaches, a college football coach is one of the most sleazy, dishonest, under the table, behind the back, just dishonest. I think I said dishonest. They're terrible people. Okay, they go to the houses of these 17-year-old kids and with the recruits' parents, and they sit down and they're going to say, oh, we're going to take care of your kids. We're going to get you this. We're going to give you this much playing time. We won't leave. We're here for the long haul. What did Lane Kiffin do? He left in the middle of the night. Okay. Coaches come and go. Players leave and go. That's why they started this transfer portal. Now, growing up in the early 2000s when I was watching football, what was the punishment for leaving? It was a 1 year. You had to sit out for 1 year, right? That was kind of like the punishment. So everybody was like, well, if a coach can leave, a player should leave. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Because it's about to be I've said this in the last couple of weeks, it's about to be free agent frenzy. And I don't like that because, A, I don't believe a kid should pout because he didn't win the job and automatically just be able to leave. And 2, you might eventually be in the part where, all these kids leave one school maybe not have any players, next school might be stacked, so on, whatever. So it's free agent. It's like, I don't like that. Free agent is for pro teams, I think. So I don't like the fact that, cowardly, they do stuff all the time. I don't think one more good side of them is going to affect anything. Like, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. How awkward would that be? Like, you just got and you kept saying that, like, it's his fault. Yeah, it's his fault. He got fired. Like, you said you're admitting that it's his fault. If it wasn't his fault, he wouldn't be getting fired. And he's already lost the team. So if he's already lost the team, why would you put him back out there? Like, I just don't get that mindset. Like, get away from the program. You're not employed. Now, sometimes an interim, like Jim Chaney did this against Kentucky. He's like the only coach. He has our best winning percentage as a coach in Tennessee history. It's 1-0, 100%. Sometimes they play better with an interim. There's like some kind of energy. I've seen it in the NFL before where a guy will be like Marty Schottenheimer one time. No, I can't remember who it was. They started out like 0-8 and they won like their next 8 because they changed coaches or something. But sometimes they play better with an interim. I know a lot of people's not going to like this take, but what if the players need to be held responsible? I mean, if Emory Jones is a 4 and 5-star and he's playing like JG, I mean, is he the reason why they're in the situation they are? I mean, he hasn't had a good season. He was supposed to be the next coming. I mean, I know people don't want to hear that. It's always the coaches, but the coaches, and I hate saying this because it's typical UT fandom. Well, the coaches don't throw the football. No, they don't. You're right. They don't. But, the players didn't play that great either. But, yeah, we're totally we're totally split on this, but we can go on to the next question.
I was going to dive in real quick and just say one of our viewers said, well, maybe there should be a deadline to avoid players leaving in the middle of the season. Interesting.
I don't know how that works. I don't.
Probably doesn't make it all right now, but eventually at some point maybe they can regulate it. I don't know. We got some more questions to burn through. Chris Barrier _ he asked us, do we go for a high-profile transfer quarterback to be the backup just in case Hooker leaves? Paul?
I don't think as a roster right now we're in any business of turning people away that are good. Like me and Leland had this debate about Vincent Sneed, and it's an understandable debate. 3-star for 4-star. I get that. I understand that. But if you're talking about like Spencer Rattler coming here, like that caliber of a quarterback, like a really good quarterback that wants to come play here, I don't think we're in any business of turning him away, especially if Hooker leaves at the quarterback position. We are royally fucked if Hooker leaves. Like Joe Milton and Taven Jackson are the only two that we have for sure on the roster. And really, Taven Jackson's not for sure until he signs that paper of that letter of intent. And we've seen recruits flip the day of signing day where they were 100% committed to us and they flipped. So I think if a former 5-star quarterback wants to come here, we'd be stupid as hell to turn him away.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Paul. Like, if Taven Jackson, like, it doesn't even matter to me at this point, like, how phenomenal or not he is. Even if he already signed the paper, we still need more depth because injuries can be galore. Obviously, you don't want them, but they can be, abysmal and can happen early and often in the SEC. So I would not turn away anyone. I think we need to hit the transfer portal like hard and heavy in terms of whoever we can get just in case. We've lost so many quarterbacks to the transfer portal already, but you don't want – this has happened to me many times in terms of like work and stuff and just in general. You don't want to just chase after the wrong fit, right? You're like, oh, well, we need all these people, but then sometimes you'll chase after the wrong fit and it just makes it worse. So yes, I feel like we need the bodies to fill that position, but then at the same time, I worry about like getting the wrong bodies at the same time, maybe personality wise. And it seems like this team is really close and jiving. I do not want to disrupt that. That's just kind of a different take in terms of like mentally. I was just like, I don't know, but we at least have to get one more, if not two more people who can play the quarterback position. It may be someone on our team who doesn't even currently play the quarterback position. I don't know, just someone to fill in. I'm just throwing out random thoughts, but that's usually what I do.
I don't really know what they mean by high profile. How many high profile is going to go into the transfer portal, honestly? And you look, if Hooker comes back, Milton's probably gone. And, hopefully you keep Taven Jackson. Yeah. But how many more are you going to get after that? Because these quarterbacks are going to want to go somewhere and play. Even if they go to a smaller school and start for a year to prove themselves, that then they can transfer up. They'd probably rather do that than go sit behind Hooker and Jackson at Tennessee. So I don't know. This transfer portal is really going to make it hard to build quarterback depth because quarterbacks are a little bit diva, and you're not going to see a lot of them stick around for long, I don't think.
Sorry, I almost cut in on you there, DR. But when I think of like high profile, like if Antonio Richardson was to hit the transfer portal from Florida here in the next 6 months, I think you definitely bring that guy in. I know there was some debate early, maybe week 3, week 4 of this season on Spencer Rattler. I think that's a guy you look at if he can get his head right. But I think you bring in a transfer quarterback, even if Hooker does come back. I've got no problem with us carrying 4 scholarship quarterbacks because, like we all just said, you never know. And if Hooker does come back and gets hurt, you want Milton throwing balls in the 3rd row, or you want Jackson going out there his freshman year and maybe risk losing him? So, I think Hooker comes back or not, you definitely look at the transfer portal, maybe try to get just a big body, kind of like God, was that Jeremy Pruitt that brought in Keller Christ? Has that only been that long ago? That guy didn't play much, but
Brought in Hooker too.
Yeah, he did. Hooker. I've thought of that before. So far, the brightest spot in Josh Heupel's offense is a Jeremy Pruitt transfer. I'd like to see us go at, if nothing else, a big body quarterback.
So I did a little bit of research on this. We've touched on this in the past with my Spencer Rattler rant. I guess he means high profile as a name, like a Rattler. This all is a domino effect on whether Hooker leaves. So if Hooker leaves, you want to get maybe a Rattler or something, you know. So 247 Sports has this pretty cool little generator here. You can it'll give you a list of all the transfer portal players. That's hard to say. You can do it by year. You can do it by uncommitted or committed. You can do it by eligible, ineligible. You can do it by position. So I did uncommitted, eligible next year, and at QB, of course. So there's 2 guys on the list that's 4 stars. The rest of them are 3 stars. Now, obviously, this doesn't really make a difference. It does to a certain extent, but I mean, if you believe in Josh Heupel and what he can do with quarterbacks, you know he can take maybe one of these guys and turn him into something. Now, with the Jackson kid coming in, the QB depth isn't as worrisome as we thought if Hooker comes back, and that's what's one of the common topics that we've been talking about on here. It doesn't look that bad, okay? So now, if he leaves or he decommits or Milton says, F this, I'm going to go to Tulane and start, then you're struggling to find depth. It's basically just one body away from struggling with depth. So we have this Jawan Pass, who's a 4-star. He's eligible to play right out of the gate. He came from Louisville. Okay, if you want to do some research on him. Now, this Grant Tisdale is an interesting fella. So he's a 4-star from Ole Miss. So I don't know. You would think that that with Corral leaving, that he would be like, man, there's no QB here. I'm gonna have the spot locked and loaded. So you know how Kiffin has turned down when he was here. He turned down 3 or 4 guys, including guys like Bryce Petty, Taj Boyd. There was a rumor of Cam Newton one time, and we ended up with Matt Sims, right? So maybe Kiffin isn't as QB-eyed as he thinks he is. Now, check this out. In 2017, we offered this kid. So Butch offered this Grant Tisdale. But I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, the rest of the guys are all 3 stars, and they are basically like small schools, I think, with the exception of like Cal. But that's my little rundown on that. Those. Go ahead.
Do you have a guy on there that's at Florida State? His last name starts with a P.
He's I don't see that.
Okay.
I see Cal. I see 2 from Cal. Damn, what's going on there? Arizona, Boston College. I can do school.
He's not a high profile guy, but there is a
no players found.
Do what?
No players found.
There's a
no Mackenzie Milton and James Blackman. So why the hell did Blackman go play for Butch Jones? He came from Florida State. So the Mackenzie Milton was UCF. See, I think the timing of Milton, we could have had Milton this year, but I think he committed. He went to Florida State before Heupel was hired, I think, is what the timeline was. So we missed out on Milton. That's the guy with the real catastrophic knee injury. But it's going to be interesting to see. But the ideal perfect world for us would be Hooker to come back, this freshman come in, he learns, sit on the bench, and then we continue I think once a year you need to get a quarterback. It's kind of like the NFL draft. I think every team in the NFL's draft should draft a QB every year in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. And then if he's good, if you have a franchise QB, you trade the guy that's in the 5th round, you get value out of him. In this situation with us, let him sit. If he can, what if he come out his sophomore year in 2023 and he's ready to go. We have a starting QB for possible for 3 years. That's the ideal situation we want. But we can move on to the next question.
Yeah, NFL and college are completely different, but in terms of this position and this team, we've got to fill the spot somehow. So I just think, kind of like everyone else was saying, we just got to look wherever we can in terms of how to fill the spot. Looks like next question at Dan J _83. He asked us, who could Florida hire to make Tennessee fans go, and I quote, so this is not like an F-bomb on my part, quote, "Oh, fuck, that's a pretty good hire."
I have to go with Lane Kiffin. But like I said, I don't see him leaving Ole Miss unless he doesn't have any confidence in whoever the hell he has playing to back up Matt Corral, like after Corral leaves. But, Lane Kiffin would scare the shit out of me. Urban Meyer coming back in the college game would scare the shit out of me, but I don't see that happening. His heart nor his morals can't take it. Really, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's the only name that if Florida hired, I'd be like, oh, shit, like we're in trouble. This Florida-Tennessee rivalry just got that much exponentially worse for everybody.
I'm there with you, Paul. I really just don't see any, quote-unquote sexy hires besides Kiffin. And I don't even think he's, a sexy hire. I just think people would be pissed to see him go from Ole Miss to Florida as a Tennessee fan. I know Leland had touched on someone he wanted to talk about. I haven't done much research into this question. I don't think Hugh Freeze would go there, and I just really don't see anyone else that I think would be going there. So y'all can take it.
Yeah, Freeze actually just got an extension making $4 million at Liberty, which is insanity to me. Which evidently they're a very, very rich school. I hate it. This is what sucks. Like sometimes I want to go first, sometimes I want to go last. This is where it sucks because it's gonna be the same answer. Lane Kiffin, and just to make it different, Nick Saban or Josh Heupel, just because I don't want to see the chaos with Heupel leaving, and we know what Nick Saban will do, and he's obviously not going there.
With this question, I really go back to my answer from the question from earlier. The question, something about Florida. Oh, was it good that Dan Mullen got fired? I answered that question. I said it felt like we finally got a leg up on the the hire cycle. Finally felt like we were 1 year ahead of Florida. So I answered this question with Matt Campbell with a question mark because I know a lot of you guys are saying Lane Kiffin. That really wouldn't scare me that much. We just went head to head with Lane Kiffin and had it in the final seconds. So Lane Kiffin really wouldn't scare me that much. I feel like the only reason we lost to Lane Kiffin this year is because he had one extra year at the school he was at. So he had one extra year at Ole Miss than Josh Heupel had here. So Lane Kiffin probably wouldn't scare me that much. He'd be doing a total reset at a different school, and we'd have 1 year up on him. Matt Campbell's the guy that I really wanted for us this last coaching search. So I put him down with a question mark. But like I said earlier, I really put the USC job and LSU job ahead of this Florida job. I think Florida's going to end up with their third or fourth choice here. It sounds dumb. None of them scare me.
Oh, buddy, I'm about to burn y'all's soul. This is crazy. Okay. So before I tell you my guy's name, I'm just going to say this about Kiffin. Okay. I'm beginning to think that Kiffin is the John Gruden of coaching. Okay. He's overrated. Fan bases suck his dick. He hasn't done shit. Okay. So let me break this down for you. So I got his stats pulled up. So he's been a head coach for 10 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's been a head coach for 10 years, okay? He has gotten to double-digit wins in 4, and I'm counting this year because I think they'll beat Mississippi State and then they'll probably win their bowl game. So I'm counting this year. 4 out of 10 years he's gotten the double-digit wins, okay? Now, in the previous segment, I went on the rant about the Florida and Texas I'm tired of hearing about them being the best job in the country. Is USC not supposedly in that same conversation, the top 5? Let me check y'all's win totals for him. 8. Now, he did win 10. 7. And they fired him at 3-2. Now, before y'all say anything, yes, he had recruiting restrictions. He probably had so many scholarships because they got in trouble with Pete Carroll. The year after Pete Carroll, which you would think in your head that Pete Carroll had pretty stacked teams, he went 8-5. So I'm sitting here looking at all his rankings as far as his AP poll, the AP poll after the season. Again, I'm counting this year because they will be ranked in the top 25 after the season. So he's been ranked at the end of the season 3 out of 10 times. He finished ranked 6th in 2011. He finished actually, you know what? I'm not even going to give him credit for that year. The year that he got fired, and I think Ed Orgeron took over, they finished 19th in the AP poll. So I'm not even going to give him that credit. So really twice in 10 years he's finished in the top 10 or top 25. Twice in 10 years. That's awful. I'm not scared if he goes to Florida. Now, my dude, everybody keeps mentioning him, Hugh Freeze. I'd be tremendous if he went. It'd be awful if he went to Florida. I can't think of anybody, would y'all be scared if, Gary Patterson went to Florida? Would you be scared if, I don't think Urban Meyer would jump ship after 1 year, and I don't think Florida would take him back. What if, would Pete Carroll at 70 go back to college? He's sucking at the Seahawks. I'm just throwing out names, but there's nobody there's no up and comers either I can think of.
Leland, I want to get your opinion. What do you think about the Tom Herman thing? I know he's kind of tied into LSU right now. That's the only name that I can think about that would actually kind of somewhat scare me, but I don't think it would scare me. It
goes back to my Texas and Florida argument. He was just at Texas. He didn't do shit. So maybe now I don't have his record. I could look up his record real quick what he did there. But, what has he?
I think it's also important to talk about. Do you think Bill O'Brien wants to leave Alabama as the offensive coordinator? Because, it's not like Saban can't replace him with Dan Mullen. So, obviously, O'Brien, if he's looking to get back into coaching.
I'm not scared. Look at what he did to the Texans. I know Texas, and I know with the Texans, he was more of the GM role, and they let him do a lot of stupid shit like trade DeAndre Hopkins. He's a decent coach. He didn't do shit at Penn State, but that was right after the Sandusky thing. And but here's Tom Herman at Texas, 7-6, now 10-4, 8-5, 7-3. He got fired at 7-3, so somebody else must have took over. But I'm not scared of anybody but Hugh Freeze. That's it.
I would actually love it if they hired Tom Herman. That screams off-field issues to me.
I want a guy with just a boring offense, like somebody who still runs the I form.
Jeremy fucking Pruitt.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm not. You know what? It's time for Tennessee. I hate Florida. It's time. It's time for Tennessee to take over this rivalry and win about 5 or 6 in a row. Let Heupel be the daddy of the Florida coach instead of the other way around. I'm so sick of this shit, and mark my words, it may not be in the next year, or it may not be in the next 3 years, but Florida might regret firing Mullen. I mean, we'll see.
I definitely think I was just checking to make sure that I had unmuted myself. Yeah, that was a long rant overall. I don't know. Honestly, here's my thing, and my concluding argument. I really don't give a damn who Florida hires. What I care about is what Tennessee is doing, period. That's my end of my argument. Next question, we got 2 more. This one is at JRC for UT. He asked us, if Richardson, Florida's quarterback, back to Florida, enters the transfer portal after Mullen was fired, would you want him back at UT? If it was me, 100%. I just don't see it happening. If Hooker is still here, guess he will go somewhere and he will get to start immediately, just in my opinion. Shoot y'all's thoughts. Then we got one more.
I think it comes down to when Hooker decides he is leaving or not. I don't think any quarterback that has serious contention of starting this season looks at Tennessee and goes, well, maybe I might go there because I could start year one. Fans love him. Heupel loves him. We all want Hooker back next year. We can all agree on that, I think. But for the most part, Anthony Richardson would be a great get. I mean, Leland and I were just talking about it. DR was still talking. I think everybody was talking about it. We need quarterback depth, regardless of if it's a freshman, if it's a sophomore, if it's a junior. Like, it doesn't matter. We need depth at that position. And Leland said it best. You want to try and get a quarterback every class, whether it's a 3-star or 4-star or 5-star. Like, you want to have that quarterback there because every year is another year that a Hooker could go out tomorrow against Vanderbilt or Saturday against Vanderbilt and break his leg. We don't know. The injury bug is always there. So you have to look at it from a standpoint as how prepared are you if your guy goes down? And I think if Taven Jackson does have a year where he can just watch Hooker play football and learn the offense, his sophomore season is going to be productive. But what happens if we lose Hooker at the beginning of the year? What happens if he goes to the NFL draft? How screwed are you if Hooker leaves? And I think that's what Heupel has to be thinking about right now.
$100%. Like Paul just said, I'm not going to emphasize a lot on it. What my emphasis would be on is depth, not name. I don't think Richardson would be a sexy transfer. However, if we need the depth, we need the depth. So if we got to go get it, we got to go get it.
I'd take him in a heartbeat. But again, it just all depends on what Hooker's going to do. And obviously the coaches are going to know before we are. And I'm sure they got contingency plans for if he stays or if he leaves.
Yeah. If Anthony Richardson wants to come here, Anthony Richardson is fucking coming here. I don't think there's any way you turn that guy around or away.
I don't have much on this. I haven't seen him do anything really. I mean, didn't he have a long run against somebody? I'm trying my best to look up his 247 page. I can't find it. But was he a 4-star?
He had a game where he was like 3 for 3 for 152 yards passing and ran for 150 yards rushing. And then after that, the next week he got hurt.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on him. I mean, I'll take all the – okay, here he is. So he was a 4-star. Dual threat, looks like 220. I'll take anybody that you think has talent. You wonder if there's anything going on between the ears. I don't have really much on this one. We can go to the next.
I think his big recruiting sale was the same Elite 11 competition that Harrison Bailey went to. I think he might have won it. If not, he was a finalist.
Go ahead, Lo.
Yeah. So last fan question at Alan W. Vols fan asked us, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dessert? Now we're going back to the holidays, out of Florida mode. Thank fucking God. Paul, tell us your favorite Thanksgiving dessert.
So I feel like it would be a disjustice to the rest of my Thanksgiving plate if I didn't go with the favorite thing. I think turkey is extremely overrated. Ham is the go-to meat for Thanksgiving Day.
This is desserts. Idiot.
Fuck you, Leland. I'll do what I want. It's our podcast, not yours.
If it ain't Jack Apple, he ain't eating it.
Yeah, if it's not marinated in Jack, I'm not eating it. But no, banana pudding's my favorite dessert. I guess I'll answer the question since Leland wants to be a cuck about it, and I'll go ahead and pass it on.
I don't really have like a traditional Thanksgiving dessert, I guess. I like anything chocolate. And if I'm making the dessert, I like something like strawberry shortcake or just something like fruity with whipped cream or something. I don't really give a shit. But I'm not really a big pie person. I will say that. I don't really care about that. So in terms of dessert, chocolate or whatever, I don't really care.
So you're not a cream pie person. Got it. My favorite, I guess, I'm not going to get to have anymore. My grandma that passed away 2 months ago made it. It was this no-bake pumpkin pie she made with some kind of cream cheese filling. And almost like a cheesecake. And it, growing up, was always my favorite at Thanksgiving. She would make one for the family and then make one for me to carry home. But, and kind of to bounce off low, I don't really have a favorite besides that. I mean, I don't have to have something or not have something. And I'm sure you stole Leland's by saying you're into the fruity stuff.
I know this was a debate on Twitter at some point this week, but I love pumpkin pie or pumpkin roll, just anything pumpkin. I'm totally against cinnamon. I've never liked cinnamon. I won't shoot fireball, won't do jack fire. Don't like anything cinnamon. So pumpkin is like as close to cinnamon as I come. And that's not why I like it, but that's the closest to cinnamon I'll get is pumpkin. I feel like they go together a lot. And usually with pumpkin desserts, you don't get a lot of crunch. I don't feel like dessert should ever be crunchy. Yeah, I like pumpkin stuff.
I don't understand how you cannot like cinnamon. Like, I would probably eat cinnamon off DR's ass. It's so good. Like, put some butter and just I make these like little toast things. You put butter and cinnamon. It's like a little French toast, and you put it in the toaster. Like, it's good as hell.
I once turned down a stripper named Cinnamon.
I bet you did. And then you married her. Ayo!
Oh, screw that. Don't.
Just kidding. Desserts. Yeah, like Bandits was talking about. Like, we had a whole thing on the timeline yesterday about people with their garbage ass takes of these food Thanksgiving opinions they had, and people were like, was shitting on pumpkin pie. Like, what's wrong with pumpkin pie? Put a spoonful of whipped cream on it and eat it. That's good. I get the whole thing. My family makes like this. It's called peanut butter pie. And if it's too peanut butter-y, it's too sweet. I don't like it, but it's just perfect. And it's just it looks just like a pumpkin pie, but it's peanut butter. They make that, and I like the pumpkin rolls is good. Chocolate cake. I mean, anything. I mean, I'll eat. I'm a sweet tooth nut. No wonder I don't have diabetes.
Leland, I'm sorry, but just to clarify, you mostly eat ass, or that's what your Twitter feed is about. So your dessert takes really do.
Well, he said chocolate cake. Hey, Bandit, this is a question for you and Leland too. Can y'all tell the difference between pumpkin pie and sweet potato pie?
The white marshmallows in it, right?
No, sweet potato pie, not sweet potato casserole, but the pie. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
The way it looks or the way it tastes?
The way it tastes.
I've never had sweet potato pie.
Really? When you go to Walmart, first look up this video, Patty LaBelle pie. There's this guy that has a review, and I'll send it to the group. But I can't really tell a difference in sweet potato pie and pumpkin pie. But I'm glad you're saying it, though. Anything pumpkin this time of year, I'm going to eat it. Except for maybe like they had pumpkin ramen noodles. I want to eat that, which I don't like ramen noodles.
I just looked it up. It does look exactly like pumpkin pie. What if I've been eating sweet potato pie the whole time?
Well, I've always heard that like what's in the canned pumpkin is mostly sweet potatoes. That's why I asked you all that.
I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. See, you watch this podcast, you start learning shit.
Hey, real quick, I forgot to mention this earlier. Just something I wanted to add in. Alante Taylor got he accepted his invitation to the Reese's Senior Bowl. I think it's like the third or the fourth year in a row Tennessee sent somebody down there. That was the last thing I had on my notes, but I did want to get that in there. So y'all tune in for the scrimmage down in Mobile.
All right, do you want to? We've been on for an hour and 20. Do you want to do a very quick basketball thing, just once around the horn?
Everyone wants to dive in for like 2 minutes. That's fine. I don't care either way. It's just up to y'all.
Okay, real quick, and then we'll get to just our top three sides of Thanksgiving, and we'll hit out. Paul?
I thought we looked like shit against Villanova, but Barnes had us ready to play North Carolina. We turned it around. Super quick preview. Chandler looked like shit against Villanova. What about Zakai Ziegler pulling up to North Carolina and deciding he wanted all the smoke? I love that from the young gun. Basketballs are headed in a good direction.
My favorite statistic of the whole night was that everyone – okay, so screw the Villanova game. That was disgusting to watch. However, they bounced back against North Carolina. Favorite statistic of the North Carolina game, 9 out of the 10 guys that went on the court contributed to the final score and scored 2 or more points. I thought that was huge. Shows me a big difference in our bench players and our starters. Our bench players can contribute. And 59 of our total 89 points came from our starters. So our starters showed up, showed out, turned it completely around. So huge thing from our starters. And Ziegler, yeah, he kicked ass. So solid on that point.
I don't really have a strong take on it. I mean, it's early in the year, and we've got our best player as a freshman. It's kind of like Calipari's teams do every year. Just let them kind of figure it out first 5 or 6 weeks. And I'll have a strong opinion when conference play starts. Or I take it back. I'll have a strong opinion when we play Memphis because I cannot stand Memphis. I don't like their fans. I don't like the city. I don't like anything about Memphis. But other than that, I'm tired of seeing Euros out there. I don't like watching him play. I'm sorry. I just don't. He cheers. That's great. He's a great guy, but I don't care nothing about being a great guy. You know, Bruce Pearl, some of my favorite players on his team, and they were not great guys, but I love to watch them play basketball.
All right, buckle up. I'm winning on this one. So we watched the Villanova game at Fieldhouse Social. 3 of us, Leland, Lowe, and me. While we were watching, I made a comment to Leland. I said, just put all 3 fucking point guards out there. Like, we need points. And that's what we ended up doing against UNC. So I went through and I kind of made a chart of all the players' minutes against Villanova versus UNC. The big one is Josiah Jordan James. He played 27 minutes against Villanova, did not play against UNC, which isn't that bad of a thing as it ended up. I'm not saying I'm happy he didn't play. I'm not happy he got hurt, but it let Rick Barnes kind of play around with this lineup a little bit. So four players I ended up putting a star next to. Olivier Cumwa, he played 27 minutes against Villanova. That got cut back to 17 minutes. He played 17 less minutes in the game against UNC. And I kind of feel like he's the type of guy that he needs some time on the bench to watch the flow of the game, and I think that helped him a lot. Going into that more, Brandon Hunley-Hatfield, he played 11 extra minutes against UNC. And I feel like that frees up Folky more when he's in the game more. Because if Folky's just inside guarding all game, he's not going to be productive. I think Folky had 2 points against Villanova. He ended up getting almost double digits against UNC, so that definitely freed him up. And then, of course, Ziegler played 7 minutes against Villanova, 27 against North Carolina, plus 20 minutes on a one-day turnaround. And I think what led to that, he put up 7 points in 7 minutes against UNC or against Villanova. They said, hey, if you can put up a point a minute, we'll feed you. He goes in against North Carolina, puts up 18 points. I think that kid's going to be a point a minute player. And then the last guy I had to start next to was Victor Bailey. Victor Bailey came off the bench against Villanova for 23 minutes, and that's disgusting. We cannot have that happen. I feel bad for him, honestly. He came here from Oregon. He had to sit a year. He had moments last year where he was hot on the 3-point. And he's just hot or cold. That's not a guy you want to see on the floor for 23 minutes ever. That's my big takeaway. As long as it's working, play all 3-point guards.
So I'm still in this football block mode. It's hard to get out of it right now, but I would just take that Villanova game, squash it, throw it to the side. They're a veteran team early in the season. I don't really like making excuses, but I wouldn't put too much stock. The Tennessee you'll see going forward, I think, is the North Carolina game. Where'd that guy come from? Like I said, I've been in football mode, so I haven't really been paying attention. But that dude that scored 17, I don't even know where he came from. I didn't even know if he was on the roster or whatever. That's how checked out I am. Going forward, you'll see Tennessee play like that from here on out. By the way, there's a good Black Friday sale on allvols.com to buy tickets. Go support your Vols. I bought a couple games. No fees, actually. Upper decks are like $25. Go grab those, but I did. But like going forward, like I can't wait to play like Texas and Arizona. The whole Barnes thing in Texas is going to be cool. But you rarely see Barnes teams get blown out, and then some idiot on Twitter will be like, "No, he got blown out 29 times. That's a lot." Now, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but you rarely see a Barnes team get blown out unless they're just like last year in the tournament. We played the hottest team in the country, and they couldn't stop shooting threes. But going forward, this is exciting time. I like this part when football's ending, basketball's starting up. But can't wait until I'm going Friday actually, Tennessee Tech. But yeah, that's all I got for them. So last thing, we'll get out of here. Let's go 3 Thanksgiving sides, just the spirit of the holiday. Three Thanksgiving sides, and we'll head out.
I'm gonna go mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, and green bean casserole.
I'm going mac and cheese #1, and probably like homemade cornbread would be #2. I'm like a huge carb whore, and maybe homemade like green beans, like the canned ones, not like the Jolly Green Giant or whatever the hell those are. That'd be my top 3.
Well, I'm going to go deviled eggs because I absolutely love those things. Fellowship meals growing up, going to church, I would take extra, and the old ladies would yell at me. Second, sweet potato casserole, but it's got to have the pecans, not the marshmallows. Unless I'm eating s'more, I do not want marshmallow. I don't really care for them. And the last thing is something that's overlooked, I think, is the dressing. I like dressing if it's cooked right. Not dry, preferably crock pot dressing because it's a little bit more moist. And that's my 3.
I'm right there with you with the stuffing, dressing, whatever you want to call it. Put it on my fucking plate. Like the mashed potatoes and gravy. I feel like a lot of these are going to be the same. So I'm going to give you one thing I can't fucking stand.
Give us a trash. Yeah.
Sauce. Cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce is trash. Get that out of there. What are y'all eating?
Is there anything least surprising as Paul picking green bean casserole? Like, I was just going to go on a rant how it's the JG. No, it's not JG. It's the Ryan Leaf of quarterbacks. Like, I disgusting, man. But stuffing, I could pound that stuff on my plate. And like, I love when, like, your 16 ants come and they make their own version of it. As long as it doesn't have, like, cucumber in it, like, I'm good. Some people make that bullshit in there. I could eat stuffing again off DR's ass. But mac and cheese, it has to be shells. I think shells taste better. Is that weird? Like, I think it tastes better than the noodles. They're more cheesier.
You're wanting to continue to eat off of DR's ass.
I'm happily engaged to a woman.
I'm just telling you how good it is.
Are we still getting Thanksgiving right now?
But the rolls, you got to have a good roll. It can't be hard and like burnt. Like, I hate when you have that one grandma who doesn't know how to bake anything and it comes out black. Cranberry, like he said, cranberry sauce trash. What's the point of it? It looks like I don't know what it looks like, mold or something. But okay, that's all we got for tonight. I hope y'all have a good Thanksgiving and watch football. Go Cowboys tomorrow. Any last thoughts on Tennessee? Anything going forward? Anybody?
Go Vols. I am sick of the Florida talk and Dan Mullen. Who gives a shit what they do? All I care about is that we're going to a bowl. Go
Lowe's
Vols.
hammered also.
I'm out.
Florida.
Go Vols and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. We're out.
Thanksgiving.